Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. I am so happy that it's Friday. I actually have big plans for my weekend, which includes reading and listening to videos on baby sleep and all these things. But I plan to do it in my pajamas, and I'm really excited about that part. So today I'm having you on because we're going to be talking with Caitlin Hogan. Caitlin, as you know, is the executive assistant here at BeBaby. She's also the BeBaby's mother's ambassador. However, Caitlin actually joined BeBaby a long time ago, and she actually joined as a client to BeBaby, and she decided to stick around after, and she climbed the ranks since then, but she actually came on as a client. And so today I'm having a little chat with her because I want to ask her how her experience with working with BeBaby has been, and how it led to where we are today. So without further ado, let me bring on Caitlin. Hi, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Always, anytime. It's so wonderful to get to actually do a live together. We're always, talking in the back, but it's nice to get on the screen together.
Yes, hopefully soon we can sit on that beautiful couch together.
Definitely. As soon as these lockdowns they just keep adding on and on and on. It's like there's no end in sight at this point. I feel like I bought a two-seater for absolutely nothing because I'm always alone. So maybe you can sort of begin telling us about why you actually joined BeBaby in the first place.
Yeah. So actually, what happened was that my daughter was going on 20 months or so, and she was sleep trained with a different sleep consultant because at that point I didn't know about BeBaby, I didn't know about Sam, and I really didn't research all that well. And fast forward, we had my son, and I knew that he was going to go into that famous 4-month sleep regression, and it was coming, and I was dreading it because I figured if it's anything like it was with my daughter, it's going to be brutal. And being a mom of two, all of a sudden, I didn't necessarily have all of that time that I had prior to rest and recoup and recover. And my husband was working really long hours because he had just been promoted. And I was finding it really difficult. I was finding it difficult to juggle the 2 under 2 and to juggle one is sleeping great and the other one isn't. And what am I doing wrong, or what should I be doing differently to help him, which would in turn help me and help my family and help our dynamic. So I ended up researching on one of the mom groups about sleep, about consultants. And the name that came up the most was Sam. It was BeBaby. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to talk to Sam. I'm going to see how she is, see if we connect as well, see if there's some kind of chemistry. And there was, we ended up speaking. She understood my needs from the get-go because as well, Sam was a mom of 2 under 2 and 3 under 3. So she fully understood my needs. And she, at that point, Sam explained to me that famous 4-month sleep regression is actually a misnomer. And it's a permanent change in their sleep cycle, which is not something that I had known. And I felt that I knew so much, right? Coming into our conversation, I felt like I was so knowledgeable, blackout blinds, white noise machine. I felt I was very knowledgeable because I had done it with my first. And I knew of different terms. I knew of the quiet out method. I knew of Ferber. I knew of different things. But now we're dealing with a whole nother baby, a whole different baby who wasn't diagnosed at that point, but I had a suspicion that he had reflux. And after speaking with Sam, it was pretty much 100%. So Sam gave me not only tips and tricks in regards to his sleep, and then I felt comfortable going on to a plan with her, but also how to how to do the next step with my doctor and actually go and get the information in regards to reflux, because I felt that every time that I would speak to his physician in regards to the reflux, I was always kind of brushed off. No,
Yeah.
don't worry, he's a happy spitter. Oh, don't worry, like it's not a big issue, but it was. And I had pictures and I had videos to show to what extent that it was insane, the amount that was coming back up. um, so it just gave me not only the confidence to be a better mom, in the sense that when I'm rested and I get the rest that I need, I'm a better mom.
Well,
And so I felt like I was getting my confidence back in, okay, I'm being a better mom. And when I was alone, which was happening quite more frequently than it was supposed to, and my husband was working so much, it was just balancing those two routines, right? I have a toddler and I have a baby, and I have a baby with reflux. So it was more difficult. I'm not going to say the contrary. It definitely was more difficult, but Sam gave me the tips and tricks and the confidence needed to balance what needed to be balanced. And as well, you know what? Go to your doctor, say this, and this, and I promise you, you'll come out with a referral. And that's what happened. I got a referral. I was able to do the next steps. I was able to really validate that, yes, he does have reflux. Here's some medication. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And so it's not just, for me, it was never just only sleep. It was always sleep and this, and oh, is this normal? Flo is doing this, or Liam is doing this. I was always getting more than just sleep related content, if that makes sense.
that's a big point, because I think that, there are a lot of sleep consultants out there. Normally, a sleep consultant does only sleep consulting. It's like it's their specialty. And most plans, because I think you were actually with another sleep consultant before, with first, and most of their plans are 5, 6, 7 days. If you're lucky, it's 2 weeks, and it's about close to $1,000 usually for that week of support. And the thing is, sleep is progressional, right? Yeah, we can deal with the now sleep and get it to where it needs to be right now in a matter of days. But your child, especially in the first 2 years, is going to keep growing and aging. And so as he does, the need for naps, the nighttime sleep, the sleep progressions, all of it changes. The nutritional needs also changes as they, cross over developmental milestones. There are sleep regressions associated to that with, good reason. And sleep is not just sleep, right? It's associated to nutrition. It's associated to exercise. It's associated to behavior during the day. It's associated to emotional health. And so trying to look at sleep in a short-term pattern and only at sleep and nothing else doesn't really tend to serve well. Yeah, after 3 or 4 days, you'll be greatly satisfied. You'll leave a good review, and then your plan ends and you do. But then, a week, 2 or 3 down the line, you need assistance again, and then you don't have it, which is why we've always, we started with 1 month of support, then we graduated to 3 months, and then to 6 or 7 month programs. And shortly we're going to be graduating to 12-month programs, because we want to make sure that, we're always there. And so on top of the sleep programs, we make sure that we offer within the same programs the breastfeeding help, the introduction to solids, the dealing with the tantrums, the everything at all. So I know you actually dealt with another sleep consultant before you came to BeBaby. Maybe you can I've never actually dealt with another sleep consultant. I've read their websites, right? Maybe you can tell us about your experience back then, and how it was different from BeBaby.
So when I had consulted the other sleep consultant, it was with my daughter. And so being a first time mom and not really having the knowledge that I have now, or even the understanding, I just figured, okay, it's normal that my kid isn't sleeping through the night at this age. Okay, it's normal that we're going through this. And I knew a bit about regressions, but not to the extent that I know now, and not to the extent that I know that there are some regressions, or and for example, the 4-month one is more of a misnomer. It's really a permanent change. And So when I reached out to the consultant, my daughter was already 6 months, which is still relatively young, but she was 6 months. And we were going on waking up every 30 minutes to an hour, and I had to nurse her to go back to sleep. So at that point, not only is she sleeping in our bed with us, but she's sleeping between myself and my husband. So I had lost that sense of intimacy with my husband, because I mean, we have a baby between us, and I wanted to have our bed back. I wanted things to go back to, I wanted her to have her own room, her own bed, her own space, without always needing me to, feed her or, give her the breast in order to go back to sleep. So I reached out to pretty much the first person that I found. So I didn't do any research really. And I just explained my situation, and I won't mention names. I just don't feel like it's necessary at this point. But I explained the situation, and she said, "Oh, I see this all the time. This is an easy fix. All right, perfect." And she didn't provide me with as much support as Sam did, I'll be honest. But I didn't know at that point that, Sam was offering bigger programs until I signed up with Sam a year or so later. But with the first sleep consultant, it was either a week or two, depending on what, I preferred and the price. And so I figured, oh my God, a week is so short. Like, how will I get through this? How will I do this? Okay. So I decided to take the 2 week plan. And it was very expensive. I'm not going to lie. We had to budget and cut things out in order to be able to pay for it. So that was a bit difficult, considering that I'm 6 months postpartum. I still have some hormones. I'm feeling a certain way. And, I'm
all that for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I have to deal with all of that, and with the fact that I'm obviously severely sleep deprived at this point. It's been 6 months, and I'm waking up every 30 minutes to an hour, so I'm exhausted. But we paid for it, and at the beginning, the follow-ups that we were having, it was more, she had created an Excel spreadsheet on a Google Drive, and so we were both able to work on it at the same time. So I guess I would see what she would write, she would see what I would write, and she would reply. But there was no extra communication. There was no human value. There was no human level. I was speaking to a spreadsheet.
Okay, yeah.
So at the beginning, we tried the whole, like 15, like the 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I would tell her, I'm like, this is not working with my daughter. It's just not working. I feel like it's riling her up. And no. Like, I just felt like I wasn't being taken seriously. I was like, well, you're not here. You're not here. Like, I'm going in, I'm doing it. I'm doing the checks as you're telling me to, but it's
you're through an Excel sheet. So I don't feel like you understand.
So I was like, look, should we do cry it out? Is that where we're at? Are there any other ideas? Is there anything else I can do? What am I doing wrong? I mean, she has the blackout blinds. She has a great routine. She has the white noise machine. Like, what am I doing wrong? So she's like, yeah, do the cry it out. And we did, and it was brutal. I won't lie, it was brutal. Thankfully, I guess we got lucky in a certain sense, because it worked. Now, when I say cry it out, guys, she never cried for like 3 hours. Okay, it wasn't anything insane like that. But it's not easy. It wasn't easy. And so when I had my second, and I started thinking about, oh God, okay, are we doing this again? Can I do this again? I want a different approach. I want someone to understand my needs, to understand my kid, to understand that I'm a mom of 2 under 2, to understand that my kids won't share a room right now, because that's not where we were at, and the room wasn't big enough, that I would prefer not to do that. And I wanted something longer than 2 weeks. So when I spoke with Sam, and I remember this very, very well, when I spoke with Sam, she ended up calling me for our consultation call, and or discovery call, and I was at IKEA. Why? I don't remember. I was at IKEA, and she told me, she's like, go get these blackout blinds right now. Don't get the black ones, get the gray ones. Okay. Okay, not a problem. So that's what I did. And then when I explained my situation of, okay, well, I've dealt with a sleep trainer in the past, like, how are you different? just the fact that she said, oh, well, my plan is, I believe I took the long one. I did.
Five months.
I treated myself and I took the long one. I was a little paranoid. When she mentioned that it was, I think I had 8 months with her or 7 months with her, I was sold at that point. I was sold. And one of the reasons being is because once my 2 weeks had finished with the other sleep consultant, with my first, with Florence, everything was, fine until the 9 month sleep regression.
Yeah.
Until until I start going, is she not, like, should I go to one nap now? Then I had to figure all of this out on my own. And I got lucky. I did, because I started lowering her morning nap, and I just did things that for me felt logical, and I did a lot of research, but I had to do it all on my own. And that's what I felt I was alone. It was difficult and
confusing.
It was very confusing. And my husband, he doesn't do as much research on that level that I do. So I figured I was the only one kind of looking into this. And am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? I would find these pictures or these stories on Pinterest or on Instagram.
There's so much information today. There's so much
information, and what's right, what's wrong, what's accurate, what's inaccurate, what's outdated. I have no idea. So when I spoke with Sam, I kind of not only got her for Liam, but I also got her for Flo. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to pay the price. I'm going to have her for 7 months, and I'm going to utilize it.
Use.
I utilized it. I used every single thing. Is my milk supply okay? Is Liam okay? Oh, look at today, he threw up so much. And knowing the fact that she is a registered nurse, I figured a picture of vomit is not going to, wake her up. So let me just take that picture of what it looks like in his bed. Is this normal? No. That's reflux, Caitlin. Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm glad that, someone can confirm that.
You know how many texts I get in a day of like somebody's hoo-ha or their boobs or vomit or poop. And it always comes with the first one they send me. I'm so terribly sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I send you a message and I'm like, honey, you're one of 5 sending me, awkward messages this morning. This is what I do. Nothing bothers me anymore.
Exactly. And so for me, it was, having experienced both, like the 2 different experiences.
Traditional sleep consultant versus the BeBaby,
No, it was like the approach is completely different. Not only am I getting someone that genuinely cares about how I'm doing and would ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you have any concerns that I should be aware of? How's Liam? How's Flo? How are they sleeping? I just felt like, okay, Sam genuinely cares about how my family's doing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not doing okay, if my couple isn't doing okay, then how can I be the best mom, best wife that I can be for my family? And so for me, that was a big, 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 important differentiator. And also the fact that it wasn't just 2 weeks and bye. It was, no, we're going through this together. Okay, Caitlin, you're going to come up on this milestone. Okay, Liam's going to start rolling from front to back to front. He might be frustrated.
Yeah.
Which means, you know what? He might wake up a couple of additional times, but it'll be fine once he realizes that he can do it on his own. He will connect the sleep cycles. Okay, Caitlin, you're coming up on this milestone. How do you feel about purees or, baby-led weaning? How do you feel about that? We're going on this milestone. So I just felt there was always so much, and there still is so much follow-ups compared to others.
Someone's watching your back.
Yes, I always just felt like someone was, just holding on to me and going, you know what, you're doing a great job. And on the days where I actually really needed to hear that, because there are those days, well, you were there. So and then when Liam was 8 months old, almost 9 months, we found out that I was expecting baby 3, which should be here in about a month.
Very soon.
Very, very soon. And knowing that Sam had just pretty much given birth, just about giving birth to her 3rd, I was like, okay, she's an entrepreneur. She runs her own business and she has 3 under 3.
I can do this.
I can do it. Now, obviously, I was terrified. Terrified. Still am. Terrified. So I reached out to her and I was like, look, I need your tips and tricks because I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, what happens when I'm alone?
I remember the first time you were like describing your whole daily routine and you're like, this is not going to work if I'm alone. And there's three of them. And, you know, you have gotten really attached to your sleep routine because everything has been working so well since we started working together. And so you were terrified of like, you know, the chaos. And, you know, I think that one of the things that we forget is as a first time mom, and even as a second time mom, and even as a third time mom, we question everything that we do.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest part for me when I became a mom, was that every time you deal with a tantrum, every time you feed them, every time you approach a bedtime issue, every time they're teething, like no matter what it is, you're always questioning whether you're doing the right thing. And it feels as though the decisions that you're taking will have permanent and long lasting effects. And so you end up really like feeling heavy and stressed out about every little thing. And then you go online to mom groups, or you go to Google and you try and find an answer to something. And it's always so like dramatic. It's always, you can't do this. This is terrible. But then the next article says, well, you can't do that because that's so terrible. You should do this. But the article after says no. And you end up in this situation where you're like, well, what do I do? And then you try and implement something. Oftentimes we're not doing it right because we don't have the guidance and it doesn't work out. And so 2 or 3 days later, we change methods and then we keep changing and changing because we don't want to stick to one that ends up being the wrong one for too long, you know? And so you know, one of the things we want to do, especially with the new program that's coming out, is make sure that like when you're in that situation where you're not sure if your approach is right and if you should stick to it or whatever it is, we're able to offer you that guidance, but in a safe way, you know, from nurses and doctors and psychologists, and, you know, have a community that you can go to and confirm, but also like office hours and drop-ins that you can come on anytime and be like, I have a question. And that's why we do the instant messaging support, because it's important for us to always be able to assist quickly rather than you needing to wait, you know, 2 days, 3 days, etc., before getting the support that you want.
And you know, when I had reached out to you, obviously, you know, my husband wasn't with me at IKEA that day, but I got home that evening, and when he was home, we spoke about it during supper time. You know, I was like, look, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to pay for. And what are your thoughts? You know, and being who we are, we speak about the finances, we go over it. You know, is it a good idea for us? Is it not a good idea for us? And I won't lie to you. I mean, he was definitely a little bit hesitant, considering that, okay, well, why are we going to repurchase? Why are we going to, we've done it, you know? We've done it before. Like, we can just redo it again. I'm like, no, like each baby is different. Each child is different. Each one has different needs. And truly, I honestly believe that we just got lucky with Florence. I truly, truly, truly believe that. I honestly, and the fact that I'm so, when it comes to her routine, just that's how I am. So I figure all of that had to pay off somehow, and I just got lucky. But the thing is that I knew Liam was different. I knew he would need a different approach. I knew he would need additional support, and it wasn't a 2-week thing that was going to help us, nor was it that approach that they were providing me with. I needed something more. So we spoke about it, and I was like, look, like the amount that we're going to give Sam is the amount that I paid for 2 weeks. Sam is offering me almost 8 months.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
Mind-boggling. So just that, he was like, oh, okay. And then I mentioned, plus, she's a nurse, like an actual registered nurse. So I can reach out to her when I feel like, oh, is this normal? Is this not normal? Like, I don't want to look at WebMD. Plus, no. Plus, it's very difficult. This was prior to COVID. It's very difficult for me to get an actual appointment with my kid's physician.
Yeah.
So for me, I just felt like if I can get some kind of information well, maybe it's just a cream that he or she needs. Maybe it's just, Caitlin, did you think about doing a sinus rinse? Oh, no, I didn't. Let me go do that. Sometimes it's just these little things which avoid the fact that I don't need to go to a doctor. I don't need to book a clinic appointment. I don't need to go see a pharmacist. I have it with Sam. And now the fact that this new program is launching and all of these fields, these, medical, there'll be doctors, there'll be osteopaths, there'll be midwives, which will be great for my next pregnancy. But there's all of that there. For me, it's easy. It's a one-stop shop. And even now with COVID, I don't want to go to different places. I don't want to go see different
No,
people.
exactly.
So it's even easier. But when I mentioned all of that to Tom about, she's a registered nurse. She has 2 kids. And the third is coming. The fact that, it's 8 months of support. So we're going to be able to go through each milestone and each regression together. It was great. And the fact that you're a mom and our kids are almost the same ages was also for me really, really comforting, because I was able to vent like, you know what, I feel like a terrible mom today. This is what happened.
Feel understood.
Yeah, I felt like there was understanding there on a different level that I just didn't have necessarily. And we were able to speak about certain myths too, because I mean, I have my in-laws coming at me, well, he's not sleeping because you're breastfeeding. Like, we were able to discuss this, and I was able to, the next time they said it, reply back saying, no, that's not actually about it. And, leave out of this conversation.
The one I hear often is like, oh, well, my old pediatrician who retired last year told me I had to put cereal in his milk at 4 months because that's, how he's going to sleep, or start solids at 4 months because that's why he's not. There's so many.
And you don't know, I guess you don't know what's right, what's wrong. And it's difficult. Being a mom is being a parent in general, not just a mom, but being a parent is the hardest job you'll ever have. And you obviously just don't want to do anything wrong. I don't think anyone wakes up going, I want to do this today, and it's wrong.
Stakes are much higher, right?
So it was a no-brainer. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, look, I'm taking on your program. I'm taking on your childbirth prep program, your pregnancy program. And I know a lot of you will say, oh, well, she's done it twice before. Yeah, I have, but they were completely different. It was, both were in a hospital setting, but my births were completely different, and this birth will be completely different. And I needed to learn more because I just felt that we don't know enough, to be honest with you. And, if I remember back to my sex ed classes in school, other than showing you how to put on a condom with a banana or a cucumber, and then you get that terrifying video of what birth is, and
from the 70s,
from like the 70s, I guess it's supposed to scare you into not having sex when you're 16. Other than that, we didn't talk about like what actual birth was, what a placenta is, why the placenta is there, that, it's not something that you have in your body creates it. So I as my program with Liam was finishing, I was getting a little anxious, to be honest with you, or a lot anxious, as Sam would say. And I was like, I'm not ready to let her go. Like, I need her hand. Like, I need us to hold hands again, like even, virtually. So I purchased another program. I was like, that's it. Here, take my money. Like, just, stay with me. I need you. So the fact that I took on the pregnancy program just kept her in my bubble as much as I can. I was like, I know there was something we had created, we had bonded on a different level.
Well, when you work
together, ready to be like discharged and be like, it was nice knowing you. No, I need you in my corner. So we've been having our monthly meetings, or even more frequently, because I'm getting close to that date. But we've been having our meetings, and I've learned so much about childbirth that I didn't know, to the extent that I made the choice now to go with midwives, which means I'm going to be doing the natural birth. I've done it before. I've done it with my second, but it wasn't a choice that I had made. It was,
you kind of happened too fast, and
it happened too fast. And it was, well, it's kind of your fault. You told me I was like, what? No, this is impossible. Check again, because yesterday I was at 3. I can't be at 8 now. That's not possible. But yes, it is possible. But see, all of this I didn't know. So now I'm going to be in a different setting. I'll be with different people. I'll be with, it's just going to be a completely different birth. And the fact that I don't know the gender is completely different too. But I have Sam in my corner once again, which I know that, because of our relationship, I can call her at 3 a.m. going, hey, so I just think that I might be in birth. I might not be. Should I, should I leave?
Yeah, no, I think, me and you talked about this, like, since you've been working with us, me and you talked about this, like, where BeBaby was going to go next, because, the minimal program we used to offer was 4 weeks. And then the minimal program we offer now is a minimum of 3 months, but we have now programs that extend to a good 7 months without add-ons, just like as a base. And we were talking about this, and one of the things that I was, expressing to you is I said, I can't work with someone for 6 months and then not know how she is in 3 months.
Exactly.
Like, I can't, because we work, we talk very frequently. We have our private instant messaging app that I talk to everyone every single day, basically. And I meet with them very, very frequently. And every single day I look, at where they are in their parenting journey to make sure that I'm supporting them where they need to go. And for me, working with someone for just 6 months or 3 months for that matter, and then just sending them off on their way, it always worried me, because I was always thinking in the back of my mind, okay, well, if she's facing something difficult or she has questions down the line, she's preparing to go back to work, etc., I hope she doesn't feel shy and she sends me an email, or she calls me, or she sends me a message. But I always worry, right? It's almost like, I grew these tiny humans, and then you send them off as adults, but it's different. But it's just like, I have these new moms, or these second or third or even sixth-time moms coming into our programs, and I'm like taking them in and being like, okay, I got you now. And then after 6 months, I have to just like let go. And I always wonder about what happens after. And so when we were discussing about, the future of the company, we decided, no, we have to stop. We have to be the one final destination that a mom needs. So, like, whether she comes in when she's pregnant, whether she comes in when her child is 2 years old, we want to make sure that, like, for a bare minimum of a year, that mom has access to us, constantly. She has modules, she has sessions to go into every week that she can go learn. She has, drop-in office hours. She has, hot seats where she can go ask questions. She has a community where she can talk to doctors and psychologists and osteopaths and midwives and nurses, and, depending on what's going on. But she has that instant messaging as well, where she can be like, hey, I have a question about this. Do you guys have content that I can watch? And if we don't, well, we're just going to go ahead and create it for her, because if you're interested, somebody else is most likely interested. But it's to create that, like, to stop people from having to hire one consultant and then another. And then, so you need a breastfeeding consultant, and you need childbirth preparation courses. And then you need a sleep consultant. And then you need help with potty training. And then you need help with, it's like never ending.
Exactly.
And it's constantly, contradicting each other. So the goal is for BeBaby to be that, like, that's it.
Exactly. And I feel like as well, there's so much information out there that sometimes you just don't know what's right and what's wrong, in the sense that, prior to us really going into detail about what I wanted for this birth, the option of midwife never flashed to me. It never came as a thought in my head, because we never hear about it. I mean, it's always like, oh, what hospital did you deliver at? Oh, okay, you were at this hospital. How did you enjoy it? It's just always like that, So when we started speaking about midwives and what it was and how it is in Quebec, and that fact that you've gone through it twice, and then your third was a home birth, I was like, okay, like, I could do this. I could definitely do this. And so it also just kind of, going through the childbirth prep workshop that you offered, it made me understand how much I don't understand. And it made me realize how much I didn't know. And obviously, afterwards, I speak to my husband about it, and it makes me realize that, okay, he definitely knew less than I knew, which is actually scary because we made this child together. So, our children,
Yeah.
it's like you know how to make a baby, but when it comes time to getting that baby out, it's like,
But you know what it is though? The more like I'm still learning about childbirth. I never stop learning, right? I'm always, I'm always in trainings like
100%.
every single week in sleep and breastfeeding and childbirth and whatever. And I think with childbirth, like it's almost a never ending pit of information because like every single time I do I'm careful to choose trainings that are like stuff I haven't seen before. And every single new training I go through, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know this part. And then we come back and we create content so that we can share it to like
Exactly.
we're going here and there and there and everywhere, getting that information on childbirth, on sleep, on breastfeeding, on parenting as a general.
Mhm.
And then we're coming back and we're creating this content that we're just, delivering over to our members. But it's almost, I feel right now as though we're never going to stop learning about childbirth.
No, and even anything else, like with my first breastfeeding was so difficult, but with my second, it was so easy. And it just goes to show that not one journey is the same. Now, just because my second was easy, does it mean that my third will be? Maybe not. Maybe I'll have issues. Maybe there'll be latch issues. But the
Yeah.
fact that I know that you're there and you're literally kind of one message or one call away reassures me. And when I was going through potty training with my first, obviously I had never gone through it, so I wasn't really sure what to do or how to do it or what to read or what to watch. And the fact that you had just gone through it and you were able to give me your pointers, and then when we started having a couple of accidents about a month or so ago, I was like, okay, is this, you start freaking out at the smallest little thing, like, okay,
Because
she's not
you've invested so much time.
right. And so I'm like, is it a regression? Is it not? Okay, what is it? And then we went through that. No, Caitlin, it's not a regression. Like, it's not lasting. It's only happening at daycare. So unfortunately, it might just be, a little bit of lack of supervision on their end. Like, talk to them about it. This is what I would say. This is what I would do. So, I just feel like you said earlier, with the minute that something changes in their routine, or the fact that, oh, sleep was bumpy last night. Oh God, what are we going into? Is it going to be a permanent change? And then you can speak to someone about it. You can speak to, in this case, it's you, but like last week, Flo was waking up early. Okay, Caitlin, you know what? Push her 15 minutes. Okay, well, things are looking better now. So even me, I mean, I'm always reaching out to you. Yeah, we talk because we're friends, but we also talk because we have a relationship, because I'm also your client.
Well, you can't not build, I mean, there's always this thing where you work in healthcare and everything is around boundaries and boundaries and boundaries and boundaries. And I mean, yes, if you work in a hospital ward, there are boundaries you need to not cross, obviously. But when you're working at an emotional level, when you're dealing with sleep and with breastfeeding, fertility,
Yeah.
pregnancy, and parenting as a general, like if you're working with someone for a very long time and you're actually doing your job right, like if you actually like human connection and you're actually taking care of those people and thinking about those people, it's impossible for you not to build some sort of a relationship, right? I have a few clients who are returning clients, right? They had one baby and then the other. I have clients, who came on at the very beginning for like breastfeeding help, and then they came for fertility and then breastfeeding and then sleep, and now they're back for fertility again, for example. And so, on and off, but over the last 3-4 years, I've been, communicating with them, and it's always like heartwarming to see them come back because it's like old friends sort of a thing. Like, yeah, I'm their I'm their consultant, and I'm going to make sure that I deliver on the results that I say I'm going to deliver on. And I work really, really hard to ensure that. And I'm always there. But I'm also going to do it with a warm heart,
Exactly. And that's the difference too, because I remember when, we were all under the weather, you would ask us like, how are you feeling? How are the kids feeling? Are they eating? Are they drinking? How are the diapers? How's this? How that? How's, try this. Whereas I didn't get that anywhere else. Oh, they're teething, eh? Oh, try this. Okay. It's a different approach that you deliver, that you provide, that your company provides. And that's another reason why I've stayed on so long and that I'm going to stay on so long. And when you started launching the seminars, and we were talking about it, obviously, more on a friend basis, I was like, all right, like this seminar could be interesting to me because it's all about pregnancy,
preparing. Yeah.
all about preparing. So I was like, all right, like, yeah, I'm going to listen to it because there's never enough information. And this is coming from, it's not coming from, Wikipedia that anyone could just modify, but it's coming from actual sources, and we're going to see information, and we're going to hear information, and we're going to hear stories, and we're going to see your story. So I was like, all right, well, if you need any help, let me know. And you took that opportunity, and I was so grateful that you wanted my help. And it gave me the chance to be a part of the seminars and learn so much too. And it just makes me realize that it's literally this one stop, that this one destination stop that you're providing me with access to different people. I have the chance to speak with one of your psychologists in a week or so. There's midwives that I can speak to, because although I'm with midwives, I can speak with other midwives too. I can speak with people about different issues whenever they arise. So it's very comforting knowing as a parent that you don't have to go to different places and book different appointments. It's available, it's ready, it's there. And the fact that all of this content will be there, because let's be honest, in 6 months, Flo will be 3. So what's to expect at 3 years old? What am I looking at? It's just, you're going to be creating all of these modules and all of this content in this library that when in time, when I'm at that point, well, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, it's already there in the back of my head. I already feel reassured that, Caitlin, don't worry. Like it's there. It's there for you, and you can review it the times that you want. And if you feel like you still have a question afterwards, reach out and let us know. And worst case, if we need to re-clarify or edit or add, we can. And for me, it's very comforting coming from someone with anxiety. I have anxiety in general about myself. And since having kids, obviously, I have more anxiety, which I'm sure it comes with it. But I adapt to change really, really well when it's about me. I don't adapt to change extremely well when it's about my kids. So to give you an idea, as Sam knows, my daughter is still in a crib. She's 2.5, a little over 2.5. She's still in a crib. Yes, I'm one of those lucky ones. Okay, I am fully aware of it. Really am. I really am. And she's also still in a sleep sack. Yes, I know. I'm very, very lucky. But the thing is that she treasures her sleep sack and she loves her crib. But I know that there's going to come a day, eventually.
Fairly soon.
Ish, when Sam's going to go, all right, Caitlin, we're going to have to start talking about it and start planning it. And what are your thoughts? What are your concerns? What's stressing you out? And just the fact that you're going to listen to me, you're going to hear my thoughts, you're going to hear my concerns, and you're going to validate. That's the thing. You validate them because they are valid. That's the thing. They are valid concerns. They are valid reasons. And just that will make me feel less anxious. And I have someone in my corner. So if the first night doesn't go perfectly, I know that it's not permanent.
Don't even worry about it. The
You know what I
advantage,
mean?
the advantage
Well,
of
have you come over and stay with me for a couple of days. That's I'll pay extra, okay?
we'll just do it when baby comes, and then I can, come take care of you when the baby comes and transfer Flo to her
I
big
think
kid.
you just want to meet the baby and get baby fever all over again.
Oh yeah, that's fine. You decided I had 4 yesterday in a comment somewhere. I think a lot of times I've had people wonder, oh, well, why would somebody sign up for sleep consulting or breastfeeding consulting breastfeeding before they have issues with it. And I say, well, do you know how many people have contacted me when they have issues with breastfeeding, but 10 days into their issues? Do you know how hard it is to fix a breastfeeding issue 10 days into the issue? Like if the supply has gone down substantially, when we're talking about breastfeeding, it's time is of the essence. When there's an issue, it has to be dealt with right away. It's very important. And the other thing is with sleep, it's a lot easier to transition a kid to a toddler bed the right way from the start versus dealing with an issue of a child that's not sleeping well in a toddler bed from the beginning because a parent has been sleeping on, a yoga mat beside the bed because it didn't go well. It's always easier, smoother, and more pleasant to prevent that sort of stuff from happening. So, signing into these types of programs like the BeBaby Peace of Mind Parenting program when you're pregnant is the ideal situation, because when you give birth, if you encounter breastfeeding concerns, you're going to be,
and you never know. You never know what can or what will happen until it does. So the fact that I have you from the get-go, and I know that this is probably going to be in our next one-on-one session, but the fact that, okay, Caitlin, like, yeah, you've had 2 babies. Yeah, you breastfed them both for 9 months, but that doesn't mean that this time around it'll be any easier or any worse.
Every baby is so different. You have some babies who have strong jaws, which make breastfeeding super easy. Awesome babies to breastfeed. And then you have those who have weak jaws, which make breastfeeding so, so difficult. And then you have the piranhas, who they have a strong jaw, but they're just like way too aggressive. So, it never ends. Every journey is completely different. And so I'm very thankful that you and so many of our long-term clients have been with us, because what it allowed me to do was to see that, like, once people got on a program, they didn't want to stop their programs. They wanted to stay, and they were willing, to stay longer and longer and longer. And they kept, when they needed help with fertility after having had a baby sleep train with me, they came back to me for fertility. And when that baby was born and they needed help with breastfeeding, they always came back to me. And then they hired me for sleep way ahead of time, because they're like, yeah, I know how to do it. You taught me, but I want you to be beside me while I do it, right? And so it made me realize, okay, so people, like, they don't want to fall off a program and then wait for the rest. Like, oftentimes the question would be, I want to be with you again, but I don't know when
Time. Yeah.
Right. And so there should never be that question of when you should get support. It should just be there.
It should. And that's, for me, it's been an investment. Like, that's how I see it. Not only am I investing in myself, but I'm investing in
your children,
my family,
your
children, my marriage. Because let's be honest, you have one baby or you have one kid. I mean, it does take a toll on your marriage, as much as it's been perfect.
And on your career too. I mean,
and so for me, it's just been this gift that just keeps on giving. And, that's how I think of it. For me, it's a gift that I'm giving myself. I want to treat myself to a massage, or I want to treat myself to whatever. That's great. And it lasts for that period, right? You pay for 60 minutes. That's what you get. You feel great afterwards, but
for a period of time.
Yeah. Whereas me, I pay for a service that I'm getting and I keep getting. And it's just, for me, it's a gift. It's an investment. It's a gift. I see that that way for my kids. My daughter is thriving. We're thriving as a family. My kids are doing great. I'm doing great, and my marriage is doing great, because some people can do great on the bare minimum of sleep, like my husband. I can't. I know that. I'm not a great person.
Does great on bare. Like, some people survive better.
Decent, or they survive better. But it's also very different, because he wasn't waking up at night, right?
No, exactly.
Say, oh, we didn't sleep very well. That's easy to say when you didn't get up 12 times. So it was a no-brainer, and it still is a no-brainer for me. And so even though, yes, I'm your BeBaby Mama ambassador, and I'm going to be the first one to preach it. Yes, I am your executive assistant, and I'm going to be the first one to
And
preach
you're
it.
also a client.
I go back to the fact that I've been a client for pretty much a year and continuing. And it started off with sleep, and it's continuing through childbirth and pregnancy, and it's going back to, maybe breastfeeding, who knows? But it's going back to sleep. And one of the things that I told you, other than being nervous about being a mom of three, although it's something that I've wanted for so long, is, you know, how to be a mom of three, and you gave me so much tips and tricks and just advice. But not only that, it's the fact that what can I do from the get-go? From the get-go. So the minute he or she is born, type of thing, to help me, to put me in the best possible position to avoid any issues that I may or may not encounter. And that's the fact that, well, from the get-go, it's going to be, let's look at breastfeeding. Let's look at, how they're sleeping, where they're sleeping. Are they sleeping in something that maybe isn't safe? Are they sleeping in something that you don't recommend? Is there some, because once again, it's so easy for us to just go onto Google and type and get information and, add to cart, add to this, add to that, but there's so many unsafe things as well.
There are.
And, and when you tell me, no, Caitlin, like, it's not because they sell it that it's safe, or that it's, it's not in their
useful
or useful. It's the market of babies is a big market. I have no idea how many billions or trillions they make a year, to be honest with you, but they make a ton.
Yeah.
But it's so easy, even being a third-time mom, to go, oh, you're right, I do need that. But no, you don't need that fancy swing at $500. Okay, you don't.
Because chances are, if you do buy that fancy swing, your third kid is going to be the only kid who didn't like the swing, right? It's always like that. And like Vanessa says, it's really tough to be programmed to actually think proactively when it comes to your needs and how to satisfy them. And so one of the things I always tell people is, when you're becoming a parent, this is the biggest, baddest, hardest job and the most wonderful job on the planet. And would you go and fly a plane as a pilot without first getting a course on flying that plane without as a pilot? No. And you would have a co-pilot with you, all the time, basically. So it doesn't make sense to become a parent and to walk in with absolutely no support and only that, that little book they give you at the CLSC when you're expecting, which, I mean, cute, but it's not going to be super helpful. So when you have to treat it a little bit like this is the most important job of your life. And it's also going to be the toughest job of your life. And so you will need help.
And it's okay to say that, it's not for nothing that they say it takes a village to raise a kid.
And the question is, are you going to wait to get help once you're exhausted, or are you going to get help to prevent you from getting there?
And it's like, what if I don't have that village? What if I don't have that? So it's easy for someone to say, it's easy for someone to say, well, it takes a village, use that village of yours. Okay, well, what happens if I live in the middle of nowhere and my village isn't there? Or
you live downtown.
What happens if my village just isn't present?
No, exactly. Well,
meet my case. I don't have many people I can rely on, and those that I do, I love them, and they're so supportive, and I'm grateful. But they also have kids or other responsibilities, so I can't necessarily always rely on that standard little village that I have. But the fact that you're offering me this village and I'm part of this village, and this village understands because they chances are have gone through it, or yeah, you're having a bad day, me too, this is what happened. Oh, okay, you know what, maybe my day isn't as bad as yours then. It's completely different, and your approach is completely different, and you feel honestly, I feel like someone took me under their wing and just hasn't let me go. And I don't want to be let go, so that's also a great thing. But it's just completely different. And so for me, I felt like it's hard because you always, I don't know about all of you, but like me, mom guilt is something that's very, very strong. It's something that I've spoken to about Sam. It's present and it's annoying and it's frustrating. And you always feel bad, like, right? Like, should I be doing this for myself? Should I be purchasing this for myself? But I see this as me purchasing this for my kids.
Yeah.
So it
Absolutely.
made the decision a lot easier too.
And it's not, that village thing. It's not like Desperate Housewives where you can step out on your porch in the morning with your coffee and there's like 6 other stay-at-home moms that are stepping out on their porch with their coffees and they're like, want to come have breakfast? And then, I'll help you with your laundry and then we'll play, cards together. And when your kids are misbehaving, just call me because I'm right next door and I'll just cross over the yard and come help you. And grandma and grandpa are often, at work during the day. A lot of them still work, and you don't have this wise woman of the village that is available that you can call for all pregnancy ailments and all those things. So the village thing, they just don't come.
No.
So we had to make that village, and I'm happy you're going to be part of it, as a mom, but also as a part of the BeBaby team now. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I'm really happy, and we're definitely going to do this again, but we're going to be talking about your experience with the pens.
Wonderful.
After birth.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Bye.